President Mi-young Park stood before the assembled representatives of the Human Federation on New Earth, looking out at faces that reflected the confidence of a species that had found its true place in the galaxy. The great crystal dome above them showed the stars that humanity now moved among as equals rather than supplicants begging for acceptance. The irony was not lost on anyone in the chamber. The Galactic Council that had rejected humanity for being too aggressive now faced a simple choice: accept humans as equals or watch their civilization continue its slow collapse into chaos and inefficiency. The very species they had dismissed as primitive warlike copycats had become the galaxy's most advanced civilization. The beings who claimed humans stole technology rather than creating it now begged for access to innovations that seemed like magic compared to their outdated systems. "They want us to save them," President Park said to the gathered representatives. Her voice carried across the chamber without amplification, thanks to acoustic engineering that made every word perfectly clear to every listener. The same beings who called us warlike savages now beg for our peaceful innovations. They want our trade networks, our technology, our expertise. The question before us is simple: do we want to help them? The debate that followed was intense but not lengthy. Humanity had spent too many years seeking approval from those who refused to give it. They had learned the hard way that respect could not be begged for or bought. It had to be earned through achievement and demonstrated through strength. Representative Jinwoo Choi from the Mars colonies spoke first. "We have proven our worth beyond any doubt," he said. "Our cities are more efficient than theirs. Our technology is more advanced. Our society is more peaceful. We do not need their permission to exist among the stars." Representative Soo-Jin Lee from the Europa research stations agreed. "For decades we tried to show them we deserved a place at their table," she said. "Now we have built a better table, and they want to sit with us." This time we set the terms. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would resume limited contact with the Council species, but as a sovereign power dealing with other sovereign powers. No more begging for membership. No more proving their worth to beings who had already demonstrated their blindness to human value. The response to the Council was elegant in its simplicity. President Park transmitted it personally to every member world using the new communication network that made their quantum entanglement systems look like smoke signals. "The Human Federation appreciates the Council's interest in renewed cooperation," she said. "We are willing to discuss trade agreements and joint projects with any species that approaches us as equals. However, we have no interest in joining organizations that evaluate members based on outdated prejudices rather than demonstrated capabilities." The transformation that followed changed the galaxy in ways no one had anticipated. Human technology began spreading throughout Council space, but only to those who paid fair prices and treated human representatives with respect. The cellular regeneration techniques developed by Dr. Hyun-Woo Lee saved millions of alien lives, but only after their government signed treaties recognizing human sovereignty. Mining operations across dozens of worlds improved dramatically when engineer So-Young Choi's extraction methods became available through licensed human contractors. But the contracts were written on human terms with human oversight and human quality standards. Captain Yoon-Ji Park's cargo fleet returned to service, but now they charged premium rates for premium service. The Seoul Express and dozens of ships, like it became the most sought-after transport in the galaxy. Alien customers competed for space on human vessels, knowing that cargo shipped by humans would arrive on time in perfect condition. Trade routes flowed through human space rather than around it. Humanity controlled the most efficient shipping lanes and the most reliable communication networks. Species that had once looked down on human merchants now depended on them for their economic survival. The most shocking change came in galactic politics. Young aliens from dozens of species looked to humanity as an example of what could be achieved through innovation and cooperation. They studied human cities, human technology, human social systems, trying to understand how one species had accomplished so much in such a short time. Universities throughout Council space added human studies to their curricula. Alien students competed for exchange programs on human worlds. The species that had been called intellectually inferior now taught courses that other civilizations considered essential knowledge. The Vextari delegate who had first dismissed humanity as too aggressive for council membership now traveled to New Earth every month, hoping to secure favorable trade agreements. He waited patiently in reception areas designed by architects who created beauty that took his breath away. The crystal being who had claimed humans only copied existing technology now used devices that were beyond his species' ability to understand, let alone reproduce. Every system on his homeworld depended on human innovations that had revolutionized how energy flowed through crystal matrices. But perhaps the greatest victory was cultural. The galaxy had learned that strength came not from domination, but from being so valuable that others sought your partnership. Humanity had shown that the best way to join any community was not to beg for acceptance, but to build something better and invite others to participate. Ambassador Tae-ho Kim now served as humanity's foreign minister, watching alien diplomats wait respectfully in the Unity Station reception area. The same beings who had once kept him waiting for hours while they discussed whether his species deserved basic recognition now arrived early for meetings hoping to make good impressions. The irony was complete, but Kim felt no bitterness about the past. Humanity had needed that rejection. It had forced them to find their own path rather than trying to fit into someone else's vision of what they should become. The Council had done humanity a favor by refusing them membership. In trying to keep humans out of their exclusive club, they had pushed humanity to create something far better. The species that was too aggressive for galactic civilization had built the most peaceful and prosperous society the galaxy had ever seen. As Kim prepared for another day of negotiations with beings who now competed for human attention, he reflected on the journey that had brought them here. Sometimes the greatest gift was being told you were not good enough. It forced you to discover just how good you really were. The galaxy had learned that humans were not too aggressive for civilization. They were too valuable to ignore. Captain Yoonji Park felt her communication device buzz against her wrist as she supervised the loading of medical supplies onto her cargo ship. The trade station Kefler bustled with activity around her. Alien workers moved containers with their various appendages while floating robots carried smaller packages through the air. She had been running supply routes between human colonies and alien markets for 2 years now. Her ship, the Seoul Express, was known throughout this sector for fair dealing and on-time delivery. Other species trusted her because she always kept her word and charged honest prices. The message on her device was short but clear. All human personnel report to nearest human outpost immediately. Operation Homecoming is now active. Pack essential. Items only. Leave everything else behind. Yoonji read the message 3 times before the meaning sank in. This was it. The recall that every human in Council space had been told might come someday. The day humanity would step back from the galactic community and chart its own course among the stars. She looked around the busy station. Kefler served as a trading hub for 17 different species. Ships from across the galaxy stopped here to buy, sell, and exchange goods. Her cargo holds were full of rare medicines that would save lives on a dozen different worlds. The alien traders she worked with had become more than business partners. Some had become friends. Nephril, the station's administrator, approached her loading dock. The gas cloud being moved inside a special containment suit that allowed it to interact with solid matter. Through the translator device, his voice sounded like wind whistling through caves. "Captain Park, is there some problem with today's shipment?" he asked. His suit changed colors from blue to green, which meant he was worried about something. Yoonji looked at the alien who had always treated her with respect and kindness. Nephril had helped her navigate the complex trade regulations when she first started working this route. He had defended her against other traders who tried to cheat her because she was human. "I'm sorry, Nephril," she said. "I've received orders to return to human space immediately. All of my people are being recalled." The gas cloud inside the suit swirled faster. The color shifted from green to deep purple, which indicated shock or distress. "Surely this is temporary," he said. "Your people provide excellent services throughout this sector. The other traders charge twice as much and deliver half the quality. Many stations depend on human reliability." Yoonji shook her head as she directed her crew to secure the cargo for departure. I wish I could tell you more, but I don't have details. Humanity is stepping back from council space. That's all I know. She watched Nephral's colors continue to shift as he processed this information. Without human traders, many remote colonies would struggle to get essential supplies. Human ships were faster, more efficient, and more trustworthy than most alternatives. The economic impact would be felt across dozens of star systems. Similar scenes played out throughout the galaxy as the human exodus began. Dr. Hyunwoo Lee received the recall message while working late in his laboratory on the Joint Research Station Velros. He had been part of an international team studying cellular regeneration for 3 years. His breakthrough work had the potential to revolutionize medicine for all species. His lab partner, Quix, belonged to a species that looked like walking trees with eyes scattered across their bark. The alien scientist had worked closely with Hyunwoo, developing new techniques that could extend lifespans and cure previously incurable diseases. "You cannot leave now," Quix said when Hyunwoo explained the situation. His voice came through root, like appendages that vibrated to create sound. "We are so close to a major breakthrough. The cellular matrices we developed could help billions of beings across the galaxy." Hyunwoo packed his research notes and personal equipment into storage
cases.
"I have to follow orders," he said, "but I'll make sure you get copies of all my work. You and the team can continue without me." "But it will not be the same," Quix replied. "Your intuitive approach to problem solving has been essential to our success. You see solutions that we miss. Without human creativity, our progress will slow dramatically." On the mining asteroid TK-447, engineer So Young Choi shut down operations that had been running continuously for 18 months. Her team had developed new extraction techniques that tripled the output of rare minerals essential for starship construction. Half the stations in this sector depended on these materials to maintain their fleets. The Mordai supervisor, Christek, had offered to double her salary if she would stay. When that failed, he offered to triple it, the crystal being pulsed with desperate yellow light as he made increasingly generous offers. "These minerals power our entire civilization," he said. "Without your extraction methods, our production will drop by 70%. Our economy cannot handle such a shock." So Young felt sorry for the crystal being, but orders were orders. "My people are calling me home," she said. "I have to go where I'm needed most." Throughout council space, human presence began disappearing like morning mist. Doctors who had revolutionized alien medical practices packed their equipment and returned to human territory. Engineers who kept alien technology running smoothly abandoned their posts. Traders who had become the backbone of interstellar commerce recalled their ships. The withdrawal happened faster than anyone expected. Within 2 weeks, every human diplomat, researcher, trader, and worker had vanished from council space. The aliens initially celebrated, thinking they had solved their human problem. Finally, they could run their affairs without interference from the aggressive upstart species. But the celebrations did not last long. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for years suddenly fell apart. Critical supplies stopped flowing between systems. Research projects ground to a halt without human innovation and expertise. The galaxy's economy, which had grown dependent on human efficiency and reliability, began showing cracks. On station after station, alien administrators discovered how much they had relied on human workers. Humans did not just fill jobs, they had become essential to making everything work properly. They fixed problems that other species could not solve. They found efficient solutions to complex challenges. They kept systems running that would have failed without their constant attention. The most disturbing part was the complete silence that followed. No communication came from human space, no trade requests, no diplomatic messages, no signals of any kind. It was as if humanity had simply vanished from the galaxy. When Council scouts tried to approach human territory, they encountered new defense systems that politely but firmly turned them away. The defenses did not attack or threaten. They simply made it clear that aliens were not welcome in human space until further notice. The humans were not hiding. They were transforming. And the galaxy was about to learn what happened when you dismissed the species that had quietly become essential to everything you depended on. Admiral Dong Hyun-song stood on the observation deck of the massive space station orbiting New Earth and smiled as he watched the construction fleets work. Hundreds of ships moved in perfect coordination, building structures that defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about engineering. The withdrawal from Council space had not been just a political statement. It had been the beginning of humanity's greatest transformation. 6 months had passed since Ambassador Tae-ho Kim walked out of that crystal chamber on Nexus 7. 6 months of freedom from alien condescension and restrictions. 6 months of humanity showing what they could really accomplish when they stopped trying to prove themselves to beings who refused to see their worth. The results were beyond anything anyone had imagined possible. In the Sol system, Dr. Yoon-ji Han had achieved something that made the old quantum entanglement networks look like children, playing with tin cans and string. Her breakthrough in faster-than-light communication came from combining human intuition with alien technology in ways the original creators never dreamed of trying. She stood in her laboratory surrounded by devices that hummed with energy from dimensions that most species did not even know existed. The communication array she had built could send messages across the galaxy instantly with perfect clarity. More importantly, it could not be intercepted or blocked by any known technology. The first test worked perfectly. She reported to Admiral Song through the new network. We can now communicate with every human colony simultaneously regardless of distance. The old Council networks took hours or days to relay messages across the galaxy. Ours works in real time. On New Sol engineer Woo Jin-bei had revolutionized manufacturing in ways that seemed to violate the basic laws of economics. His factories combined human creativity with alien materials, creating production techniques that operated at costs so low they appeared impossible to outside observers. The secret was not just efficiency, but complete reimagining of how things should be made. Instead of copying alien methods and trying to improve them, humans had started from scratch. They asked fundamental questions that other species had stopped asking thousands of years ago. Why did starship hulls have to be built in sections when they could be grown as single units? Why did computers need separate processors when the entire structure could think as one organism? Why did cities have to fight against their planets when they could work with natural systems to create harmony? The answers led to breakthroughs that transformed every aspect of human civilization. General Soo-min Kim oversaw the development of defensive systems that made human space completely secure without firing a single shot in anger. The same species that aliens had called too aggressive had created the most peaceful defense network in galactic history. The barriers that turned away Council scouts were just the beginning. Human territory was now protected by technology that converted incoming weapons into harmless light displays. Missiles became fireworks. Energy beams turned into rainbow patterns. Even the most powerful alien warships found their weapon systems, producing nothing more dangerous than pretty colors. The defense grid did not destroy attackers or hurt anyone. It simply made violence impossible within human space. Any being that entered with peaceful intentions was welcomed. Those who came with hostile plans found their weapons would not function, but they themselves remained perfectly safe. Meanwhile, Captain Jin Ho-yu led exploration fleets beyond the galactic rim, discovering resources and worlds that the Council had never imagined existed. His ships used new propulsion systems that folded space itself, allowing them to travel distances that would take other species centuries to cross. The discoveries were staggering. Planets rich with materials that could revolutionize technology. Energy sources that could power entire civilizations. Most importantly, empty worlds perfect for colonization that had never been touched by any sapient species. Humanity was not just surviving without the Council. They were expanding into regions of space that other species considered unreachable. Every new world increased human resources and capabilities. Every discovery proved that the galaxy was much larger and richer than anyone had believed. The transformation went deeper than technology. United by common purpose and free from constant alien criticism, human colonies had become models of efficiency and cooperation. Crime rates had dropped to nearly zero. Scientific advancement accelerated beyond all previous records. Quality of life improved so dramatically that the old Earth seemed like a distant memory of harder times. Children grew up learning that they were part of something greater than themselves. Adults worked together knowing that their efforts benefited all humanity. The species that aliens had called chaotic and aggressive had created the most harmonious civilization the galaxy had ever seen. When the first desperate council envoys finally arrived at the edge of human space, they were shocked by what they encountered. The primitive humans had built a civilization that made council space look backward and inefficient. Cities floated in space like jewels connected by streams of light. Ships moved with grace that seemed to defy physics. Everything worked in perfect harmony. Ambassador Tae-ho Kim now served as the first president of the Human Federation, greeted the alien diplomats with polite professionalism. He met them at Unity Station, a massive facility built specifically for diplomatic contact. The station itself demonstrated human advancement with architecture that was both beautiful and functional in ways alien engineers could not understand. "We appreciate your visit," President Kim said as he welcomed the nervous alien delegates. His manner was calm and confident without any trace of the frustration he had shown months earlier. "However, we are no longer interested in joining your council. We have found that we accomplish much more when we focus on our own development." The lead, Vextari delegate, clicked his mandibles uncertainly. His compound eyes tried to take in the impossible technology surrounding him. "Surely there can be some arrangement," he said. "The galaxy needs human expertise to function properly. Many worlds face crisis without your assistance." President Kim nodded thoughtfully. "We understand the situation," he replied. "Humanity is willing to discuss trade and cooperation as equals. We have much to offer, and we are interested in fair exchange with peaceful neighbors. But we will never again seek approval or acceptance from those who cannot see our value." The message was clear. The species that had once begged for council membership now offered partnership from a position of strength. The galaxy would have to earn human cooperation instead of expecting human gratitude. The crystal chamber on Station Nexus 7 sparkled with lights from 1,000 different worlds. Ambassador Tae-ho Kim walked slowly across the smooth floor. His black shoes made soft sounds that echoed in the huge room. Today was supposed to be different. Today, humanity was supposed to finally get their answer about joining the Galactic Council. Tae-ho had been coming to these meetings for 3 long years. 3 years of sitting at tables with beings from across the galaxy. 3 years of explaining why humans deserve to be treated as equals. 3 years of hearing the same excuses over and over again. The alien delegates sat around a massive circular table made of some kind of blue stone that glowed from within. Each seat was designed for different body types. Some aliens needed water tanks. Others required special gas mixtures to breathe. The Vextari delegate looked like a giant insect with sharp claws and compound eyes that never seemed to blink. The Mordai representative appeared to be made of living crystal that changed colors when it spoke. Tae-ho took his place at the human section of the table. The chair felt cold against his back. He placed his hands flat on the table surface and waited. Around him, other human diplomats and advisors settled into their seats. Everyone knew this meeting was important. Everyone hoped today would be the day. The Vextari delegate clicked his mandibles together, making a sound like breaking glass. This was how his species showed they were ready to speak. The translator device on the table turned his clicking into words that everyone could understand. "We have reviewed your latest application for council membership," the insect being said. His voice through the translator sounded flat and emotionless. "As before, we find that humanity is not ready for such responsibility." Tae-ho felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face calm. He had learned to control his expressions during these meetings. Showing emotion only gave the aliens more reasons to call humans unstable. "May I ask what specific concerns remain?" Tae-ho said. His voice was steady and professional. "We have addressed every issue raised in previous sessions. Our crime rates have dropped by 60%. Our military conflicts have ended. We have established peaceful trade with over 200 species." The Mordai delegate pulsed with red and orange colors. When crystal beings showed these colors, it usually meant they were annoyed or dismissive. "Your species wages war constantly," the crystal being said. "You fight among yourselves and with others. This shows you are too aggressive for council membership." Tae-ho looked around the table at the other delegates. The Zephyrian representative was a cloud of glowing gas contained in a special suit. The thorax delegate looked like a massive tree with eyes scattered across its bark. The Kelrani ambassador had tentacles instead of arms and skin that seemed to shift and flow like water. All of these species had been at war within the last century. All of them had committed acts that humans would consider terrible. Yet they sat on the council as respected members while humanity was rejected again and again. With respect-honored delegates, Tejo said, "We have not engaged in major military action for over 5 years. During that same period, 3 council species have fought territorial wars, and 2 others have suppressed rebellion on their colony worlds. If aggression disqualifies species from membership, then perhaps the council should review its current roster." The Vextari delegate made an angry buzzing sound. The translator struggled to convert it into words. "Your technology is stolen, not invented," he finally said. "You copy what others create rather than developing your own innovations. This shows intellectual inferiority." Tejo felt something hot rise in his chest. This was the insult that hurt the most. Humans had created amazing things. They had solved problems that had puzzled other species for thousands of years. They had improved alien technology in ways the original creators never imagined possible. "Our medical advances have saved millions of lives across dozens of species," Tejo said. His voice was getting harder to control. "Our engineering solutions have improved efficiency on your stations by 300%. Our agricultural techniques have ended famine on 17 worlds. How is helping others considered stealing?" The gas cloud delegate spoke in a voice that sounded like wind through metal pipes. "You modify existing technology rather than creating from nothing," it said. "True innovation comes from original thought, not from changing what already exists." Tejo stood up slowly. Around the table, the alien delegates turned their various sensory organs toward him. Some had eyes, others used different methods to see and hear. All of them focused on the human ambassador as he prepared to speak. "For 3 years, Tejo said, we have come to these meetings in good faith. We have answered every question. We have met every requirement. We have proven our worth over and over again. Yet every session ends the same way. You find new excuses to reject us." The chamber fell silent. Even the background hum of the station systems seemed to quiet down. Tejo looked at each delegate in turn. These beings controlled trade routes that connected thousands of worlds. They made decisions that affected the lives of trillions of creatures across the galaxy. They held power that humanity desperately wanted to share. "We came here offering partnership and friendship," Tejo continued. "We offered to share our knowledge and our resources. We asked only to be treated as equals among the stars. Instead, you have insulted us, dismissed us, and treated us like dangerous children who stumbled into space by accident." The Mordai delegate pulsed with different colors now. Purple and blue mixed together in patterns that showed confusion or surprise. "Surely you do not mean to suggest," the crystal being started to say. Tejo held up his hand. The gesture was so firm and commanding that even beings from completely different evolutionary backgrounds understood it meant, "Stop and listen." "I mean to say exactly what I am saying," Tejo replied. "Humanity withdraws from all council negotiations, effective immediately. We are done begging for your approval. We are done proving ourselves to beings who refuse to see our worth. We will handle our own affairs from now on." The silence that followed was deeper than before. It was the kind of silence that comes just before thunder, the kind of silence that means everything is about to change. The Vextari delegate started laughing. The sound came out as harsh buzzing that made the translator crackle and pop. "You will be back within a cycle," he said between bursts of insect laughter. "Begging for trade agreements and technological assistance. Humans cannot survive alone in the galaxy. You need us more than we need you." Tejo walked toward the chamber exit. His footsteps echoed louder now that everyone was listening. He reached the massive doorway that led back to the docking bays where human ships waited. Before stepping through, he turned back one final time. "Watch us," he said. Then Ambassador Tejo Kim disappeared through the doorway, leaving behind 3 years of failed negotiations and a chamber full of aliens who had no idea what was about to happen to their comfortable galaxy. 3 months had passed since the humans disappeared from council space, and panic was spreading like fire through dry grass. Administrator Velkan stood in the control center of Mining Station Kurtas, watching red warning lights flash across every display screen. The station that once produced enough rare metals to supply half the sector now struggled to meet even basic quotas. Everything was falling apart, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The human mining team had extracted resources at 3 times the rate of any other species. They used techniques that seemed impossible but somehow worked perfectly. They combined alien technology in ways that the original creators never imagined. Most importantly, they kept the complex hybrid systems running smoothly day after day. Now, with traditional alien methods, production had dropped by 70%. Worse yet, the equipment kept breaking down and nobody knew how to fix it. The humans had modified everything to work better, but their improvements were too advanced for other species to understand. Velkan touched a control panel with his tentacle and watched another system failure report appear on the main screen. The atmospheric processors were running at 60% efficiency. The mineral extractors had shut down twice this week. The transport system that moved materials around the station operated so slowly that cargo backed up in every corridor. His communication device buzzed with an incoming message from the Mordai Council representative. Velkan dreaded these calls, because they always brought more bad news and demands for solutions he could not provide. Administrator Velkan, came the crystal being's voice through the translator. What is your production status for this cycle? Velkan changed color from his normal blue to a nervous green. The pigments in his skin automatically reflected his emotional state, which made it impossible to hide bad news from other members of his species. Production is down to 30% of normal levels, he admitted. We have lost another extractor unit, and the processing facility cannot handle the mineral loads without human oversight. This is unacceptable, the council representative replied. His voice carried the sharp tone that crystal beings used when they were angry. Find alternative solutions immediately. The entire sector's economy depends on your output. Velkan wanted to explain that there were no alternative solutions, but he knew better than to argue with a council member. He ended the communication and turned back to his failing station. On the other side of the galaxy, similar disasters were unfolding everywhere humans had once worked. The Nexus 7 station that served as the pride of galactic cooperation now operated at half capacity. Essential systems failed daily, without human technicians who somehow always knew how to solve impossible problems. Council member Zephyr 9 floated in the emergency session chamber surrounded by representatives from dozens of species, the energy being pulsed with frustrated yellow light as he addressed the assembly. The situation has become critical, he announced. Supply chains are collapsing across 17 sectors. Our most important stations are failing. Colony worlds are requesting emergency assistance that we cannot provide. The Vextari delegate who had laughed at the humans 3 months earlier now clicked his mandibles nervously. Surely other species can fill the gaps, he said, but his voice lacked confidence. We survived before humans arrived in our space. Even he knew this argument was weak. In just 50 years, humanity had become essential to galactic civilization. They had not simply joined the existing system, they had improved it beyond recognition. Without them, everything was falling back to the old, inefficient ways that barely worked. The Thorac representative spoke through rustling leaves that served as his vocal cords. Our agricultural worlds report crop failures, he said. Human farming techniques increased yields by 400%. Without their methods, many colonies face starvation. Communication networks across council space were beginning to fail as, humans had designed most of the translation protocols and maintenance systems that allowed thousands of different species to understand each other. Without constant human updates and improvements, the networks became unreliable. Different species struggled to coordinate relief efforts when their messages were mistranslated or lost entirely. The galaxy's greatest achievement, seamless communication between vastly different forms of life, was crumbling piece by piece. What made the crisis worse was the complete silence from human space. No communications came from their territory. No signals. No trade requests. No diplomatic messages of any kind. When Council scouts approached the borders of human space, they encountered defense systems that politely but firmly turned them away. The defenses were unlike anything the aliens had seen before. They did not attack or threaten violence. Instead, they created barriers of energy that made it impossible to enter human territory. Ships that tried to force their way through found themselves gently pushed back without taking any damage. Most disturbing of all, the defense systems seemed to anticipate every attempt to bypass them. When the Vextari sent cloaked ships, the barriers detected them instantly. When the Mordai tried quantum tunneling, the defenses adapted in real time. Whatever technology the humans were using, it was far more advanced than anything in Council space. On the trade station Kefler, where Captain Yoon-Ji Park had once delivered medical supplies, Nephril watched his station slowly die. Without human traders, the flow of goods had dropped to a trickle. Other species charged much higher prices for inferior service. Many smaller colonies could no longer afford essential supplies. The gas cloud administrator changed colors constantly as stress affected his chemical balance. 3 major shipping companies had canceled their routes through his station. 2 colonies had stopped sending cargo because they could not find reliable transport. The bustling hub that once connected dozens of worlds was becoming a ghost station. Nephril sent messages toward human space every day, begging for someone to respond. He offered better trade terms. He promised higher payments. He even offered to make humans partners in running the station. Every message disappeared into silence, as if the entire human species had vanished from the galaxy. But the humans had not vanished. Deep in their own territory, they were building something new. The species that had been rejected for being too aggressive were creating the most peaceful and advanced civilization the galaxy had ever seen. They were not hiding from the Council. They were preparing to show everyone what humanity could achieve when they stopped asking for permission. The silence from human space was not empty. It was full of potential. And soon the galaxy would learn what happened when you dismissed the species that had quietly become essential to everything you thought you could not live without.